Forget frequently asked questions.
Common sense, common knowledge, or Google.
How about advice from a real genius? 95% of people in any profession are good enough to be qualified and licensed. 5%
go above and beyond.
They become very good at what they do, but only
0.1%
are real geniuses. Richard Jacobs has made it his life's mission to find them for you. He hunts down and interviews geniuses in every field: sleep science, cancer, stem cells, ketogenic diets, and more. Here come the geniuses. This is the Finding Genius Podcast
with Richard Jacobs.
Before we begin, a note from our sponsor. I'm Richard Jacobs, Executive Director of the nonprofit Finding Genius Foundation and host of the Finding Genius Podcast. In late 2016, I was rear-ended at 65 miles an hour by a truck on the highway, which sent me off-road into a ditch. The impact of the collision gave me a concussion and other injuries. At the hospital, a CT scan showed that I had thyroid nodules, which turned out to be cancer. It was then, when I had a biopsy of my neck, that I realized even if I was a millionaire, I wouldn't want a second or a third biopsy due to the pain and the invasiveness of it. And appointments at that time for thyroid experts were 3 to 6 months out. And I was worried about dying now, even if that was irrational. So because of this, I've decided to raise money to conduct a literature review on steroids, on the causes of anxiety and depression, a condition that affects well over 50 million people in the United States and hundreds of millions worldwide. Our goal is to create a codex, a guide that reveals all possible treatments for anxiety and depression for people that live with the condition, or for loved ones that have it, as my wife and my son do. To find out more about our fundraiser, visit findinggeniusfoundation.org and click on current initiatives. And now to our guest.
Hello, this is Richard Jacobs with the Finding Genius podcast, now part of the Finding Genius Foundation. I have Tina Anderson. She's the founder of a company called Just Thrive, and they provide probiotics, prebiotics, and precision health for people's immune systems. So Tina, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, Rich. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I usually wouldn't state this at the beginning, but I'm going to mention it later, but they have a code GENIUS15 to save 15% site-wide. So I'll give that again at the end. I just wanted to make sure in the beginning that people knew about it. So yeah, well, go ahead, Tina. Tell me about a little bit about your background. How did you end up thinking about probiotics and prebiotics and starting this company?
Yeah, I actually have a pretty interesting journey. I started out as a trial attorney. I was in litigation for many years. And then just for a desire to have more of a work-life balance, I started having children. I decided to go into a family pharmaceutical business where I had better hours, but I was able to still practice law and do all of the stuff that I love to do. So while there, though, I started to really dive into the pharmaceutical industry and learn more about it. When I first started with my husband and I, we were excited because we were like, this is great. We're in this industry that is, changing lives and bringing life-saving medications to people. But after being in the industry for a while, I really started to see a lot of the abuses in the industry. I started, seeing a lot of the overprescribing of medications, both in our business, but also just with family members, and started to learn more about the natural approach to health. It's always something that I've been inclined to live in anyway with my own children. And so I just started to research about the gut and how important the gut is to virtually every aspect of our overall health. And I always say being at the right place at the right time, my husband and I were able to license these very specific strains of probiotics from London University, Dr. Simon Cutting, one of the top probiotic researchers in the world. So from there, Just Thrive was born, and it's been the most gratifying career journey I've ever been on.
So how did you know which probiotics, which species to license and how to combine them and everything? Without giving away proprietary info, what are some things that make Just Thrive unique? How did you choose, again, what to put in there?
Yeah, well, we started diving into probiotics, and we saw that there was a big problem with most probiotics on the market are very sensitive organisms. They're made up of lactobacillus and bifidobacterium. And these strains have been used for a long, long time for purposes of supporting the gut health. But the National Institutes of Health conducted the Human Microbiome Project that told us more about the gut than we ever knew before. And essentially, we found out that approach they were trying to reseed the gut. That approach to gut health was really not what we needed in our gut. What we needed was to create diversity in the microbiome. We needed to help those bacteria that were not really thriving in the gut come back to life, and then help get rid of that pathogenic bacteria in the gut. And the lactobacillus and bifidobacterium type of probiotics on the market, which is, 95%, if not more, of the strains that you find on the market, just weren't doing that. They don't even make it to the intestines alive. The very definition of a probiotic is to arrive alive in the intestines and confer a benefit onto the host, which is, of course, the body. And most of those probiotics, the overwhelming majority of them, never even make that journey to the intestines alive. They die before they ever get there. And so the types of probiotic strains that are in Just Thrive are a completely different category of probiotics. They are called spore-based probiotics. And spore-based probiotics have this endospore shell around themselves. And this shell allows you to, they're dormant when they're in the shell, and they allow you to swallow it. And these strains get to the stomach acid, which is very acidic and kills off most probiotic strains. But this shell that the spores have allows it to get through that stomach acid 100% alive. And it's not until they hit the intestines that they take that endospore shell off. And that's when they go into the live vegetative cell state. So one of the biggest differences with our probiotic strains, the spores, versus the majority of probiotics on the market, is just their ability to survive the gastric system and get to the intestines alive. The other big difference is that one of the strains in our product is called Bacillus indicus, HU36. And that strain actually produces antioxidants and carotenoids right at the site of absorption. So not only do the spore-based probiotics in Just Thrive are they potent and are able to really confer a change in the gut microbiome, it also produces, this product also produces antioxidants and carotenoids right at the site of absorption, right inside of the intestines, where they are able to combat some of that oxidative stress going on the gut line.
Well, how do you know which species to put in there? And I guess you have to have ones that have a spore form in order for them to make the journey?
Yes. In our research, we have found that it's the spore base that allow the strains to actually get to the intestines alive. And that's why we only work with spores at this time, because those are the ones that have really showed us that they could get to the intestines alive and start to confer a benefit onto the host.
Are you adding prebiotics to feed these particular species to encourage their growth and to take root?
Yes. So the prebiotics, it's interesting. We have a philosophy in our company that we only bring products that are missing and needed and researched to the market. So I believe in a lot of supplements. I take a lot of supplements. I think vitamin C, for example, is a wonderful nutrient, but there's lots of companies that are doing, great things with vitamin C. And why would we do that? We're not interested in being a 200 plus supplement company. We're looking at products that are missing and needed in the market. And so we launched our brand with the probiotic, and that's really for many years, all we had was our probiotic. And then we knew we wanted a prebiotic because we know how important a prebiotic is. But the problem is many of the prebiotics on the market actually have difficulty distinguishing between the good and the bad bacteria to feed. So the job of a prebiotic, of course, is to feed the bacteria in the gut. The problem is if you have this growth of pathogenic bacteria or bad bacteria, sometimes those prebiotic fibers will feed the pathogenic bacteria. So we waited to launch a prebiotic formulation that only targets the beneficial bacteria. And we've seen some exciting results with that product, because not only is it, helping feed the bacteria, but it's creating this diversity in the gut microbiome, which is really, the key to a healthy gut microbiome is to have a diverse microbiome.
Well, how do you know? What does that mean, diverse? Is it diverse in terms of function of the bacteria or just number of species? The more you have, supposedly the better.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both. So it's uniformity. We want lots of different types of bacteria and we want a lot of bacteria of those different species that are there. So, and we measure both of those, and we measured it in a study that actually showed that the prebiotic would increase the diversity. The probiotic itself increases diversity just on its own. And then the prebiotic increases that diversity by 10 to, in some cases, 100-fold. So really, really powerful stuff that we found.
Well, what are the effects? Who would take this, and what anecdotally have you heard the effects are?
Before we continue, I've been personally funding the Finding Genius podcast for 4.5 years now, which has led to 2,700 plus interviews of clinicians, researchers, scientists, CEOs, and other amazing people who are working to advance science and improve our lives and our world. Even though this podcast gets 100,000 plus downloads a month, we need your help to reach hundreds of thousands more worldwide. Please visit findinggeniuspodcast.com and click on Support Us. We have 3 levels of membership from $10 to $49 a month, including perks such as the ability to see ahead in our interview calendar and ask questions of upcoming guests, transcripts of podcasts you're interested in, the ability to request specific topics or guests, and more. Visit findinggeniuspodcast.com and click Support Us today. Now back to the show.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I think is really important to state is that, most people we are all microbial beings. We are 10 times more bacteria than we are human cells. And it's really hard for people to wrap their head around that. And the problem is we live in this world that is so antimicrobial. There are so many offenders to our gut health and to the microbes living in and on us. And so, I feel that there's not anybody that I could think of that should not be taking a spore-based probiotic. And that's because we are being, our guts are being attacked on a daily basis, from glyphosates in our food supply, glyphosates, which is the active ingredient in Roundup, of course, is sprayed all over our food supply, antibiotics that we take, all the antimicrobial, like the hand soaps, the antimicrobial hand sanitizers, cleaning products in our house, the fluoride in our water. I mean, almost everything that we're doing on a day-to-day basis is so disruptive to our microbes. And so it's really important that we continue to support our microbiome by taking spore-based bacteria. And the thing is, these spores were actually found in our environment. Our ancestors used to eat off the land. They would eat roots and tubers off the land, and they would get spore-based bacteria from the dirt. And unfortunately, in the world we live in, we just we don't see these microbes, these bacillus spores in our soil because, it's overfarmed, our soil's contaminated. So, it's really hard to find any person that shouldn't be taking these. Of course, we see people who have digestive issues, gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation. Of course, those people generally already know I have some gut dysbiosis or gut imbalance going on. So they'll kind of tend to start taking a probiotic, start looking at things to support their gut health. But what people are just starting to understand, and which is so exciting, is our immune system is completely dictated by the health of our microbiome. I mean, 70 to 80% of our immune tissue is found in our gut lining. And if our microbes are not signaling to our immune system to start activating, our immune cells won't even activate. It is so critical that we're taking care of our gut health for our immune health, for, digestive issues, like I mentioned, skin issues. We see that all the time. We see people who have terrible skin issues and start to take care of their gut by taking spore-based bacteria and doing the other, some of the other products we have. And we start seeing, their skin issues clearing up. When we have a skin rash, it's a sign that you've got some imbalance in your gut. The other area that people are just starting to understand is our mental health, our mood and anxiety, depression. That's all dictated by the health of our gut microbiome. 90% of our serotonin is actually produced in our gut. Dopamine is produced in our gut. GABA is produced in our gut. So all of these neurotransmitters are being produced in our gut. And if our gut is imbalanced and there's an overgrowth of pathogenic bacteria, we're seeing that these conditions pop up in different ways. They're manifesting in very different ways, from gastrointestinal issues to, like I said, mood issues, skin issues. It goes, even weight management is dictated by that. We know that, the type of bacteria you have will dictate if you're one of those people that looks at a cupcake and, gains 10 pounds, or one of those people that eats a dozen and doesn't gain much weight. So all of these, to be honest with you, it's hard to find any condition that's not associated, any disease state that's not associated with an imbalance in the gut, from heart disease.
All right, do you have custom formulations depending on what's going on with the person, or is it just one formulation?
You know what? That's a great question. We don't. And the reason that we don't is that these bacteria, these spores, are very intelligent microbes. They actually have the ability to read the microbial environment. So they will do something entirely different in my gut microbiome than they will in yours or anybody else's. They are reading the microbial environment. So these bacteria actually could sense if there's more pathogenic bacteria, how they're going to handle it. And if they sense if there's some bacteria that needs to be, that's maybe been stepped on and trampled on, like if you're envisioning a garden and, you know, there's weeds growing all over and there's plants that have been stepped on and trampled on, these bacteria actually have the ability to know, to recognize that beneficial bacteria and help it come back to life. So it's going to do something different in your gut than it will in mine. I mean, as a marketer, I'm not a marketer by trade, but as, you know, a marketer going on store shelves, people are always saying, you should do a woman's, you should do a men's, you should do a children's. And we could to get more shelf space, but it really wouldn't be necessary because we know that these bacteria are intelligent enough to do whatever they need to do within everyone's individual microbiome.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
Well, do you have 100% success rate with people, or are there ones that just are not getting relief for whatever reason?
Gosh, I would never say we have 100% success rate, but we see some pretty dramatic results with people. You know, and it said it goes from people who have skin issues, people who have constipation, diarrhea, gas, bloating, and certain things. You know, we tend to see quicker results with people with diarrhea than we do necessarily with constipation. That's a little bit trickier, but it's just about taking the time and maybe adding in the prebiotic and then adding in our gut fortify. But we see, and here's the best part about it, unlike the pharmaceutical industry, is that we will have customers that will, you know, come to us that'll say, I'd like to start taking this because I have some gas and bloating. And then all of a sudden they start seeing, oh my God, you know, I'm sleeping better or I have more energy. And it makes sense to have more energy because you're getting rid of the toxins in your gut microbiome. And so I always say the side effects in these products are, you know, more energy, better sleep, better weight management. All of these side effects are so beneficial to people. And that's probably the most exciting thing is that we see people that come to us with maybe like I said, a gastrointestinal issue and start seeing better skin health. And that's the really fun part about launching this product is that it's just helping so many people and it's helping people get to the root cause of an issue. Another core value of our companies is just empowerment. And that's why I love the work that you're doing on your podcast by empowering people to learn about, you know, all of these different areas of health and wellness. And I just feel like it's important that people start to empower themselves to get to the root cause, not just take a pharmaceutical and put a Band-Aid on. There's a place for pharmaceuticals, of course, emergency type medicine situation, acute situations, but for chronic conditions, we need to get to the root cause of a matter. And that's what's been exciting.
Yeah. Question here. From my understanding, a lot of pharmaceuticals will preferentially deplete certain nutrients over time, like metformin depletes B12.
Yes.
I've seen in the literature, but also from what I've read, bacteria in your gut consume, metabolize, and change medications that people take. So if someone's taking, you know, XYZ medications for years, they start on your probiotic. Are there any off-target effects in terms of someone's medication now not working or working too well, or does it affect them negatively in that sense?
Yeah, we have not seen that. I will tell you that when you have a healthy microbiome, your absorption is going to be better. So whether you're taking supplements or eating, you know, nutrient-dense foods, the absorption will be that much better. So I'm not aware of, and we are not aware of any counter actions with any other medications on the market.
Oh, good. I just didn't know if it affects them. But do you collect data on the people that take Just Thrive and note what happens to them, how fast? Like, are you guys collecting any amounts of anecdotal data to see what it's doing out there in the wild?
You know, we collect, all the testimonials and the stories and that kind of thing. Obviously, we have to be careful because as a supplement, we're not able to make certain disease claims or anything like that. And so we never ever try to, claim that we're curing a disease or anything like that. But we do know that, we have incredible success stories from customers. Every day, it seems like what we keep hearing is like, it's just changed my life. That's what people say, because when you start having more energy, when you start feeling better, getting rid of those toxins, people who haven't used go to the bathroom on a regular basis, they're not regular. They start, of course, to see more energy. So that, of course, changes so many different aspects of their life. So we collect all of the testimonials that we receive from customers and all of that, but we don't do anything more like in a real scientific setting with the anecdotal evidence. We do double blind. We have several double blind human clinical trials we did that with the spores that are used in Just Thrive with leaky gut, which is profound. We actually saw, it was a study done on 100 college students. They found out that over 50% of them had a leaky gut and didn't know it. And we found that after taking the spores for just 30 days, it showed a 32% reduction in LPS toxins that seeped into the bloodstream. And what was even worse is that the placebo group that was not taking the spores saw a 42% increase in LPS toxins in the bloodstream. So they're seeing this increase in this lipopolysaccharide seeping into the bloodstream. So we do research studies, double-blind human clinical trials, which is, very unheard of in the supplement space and very rare in the supplement space. But as far as testimonials, we keep those on our website, and we keep them for our own, to keep us, going and doing the work that we do. We love to hear the stories from people.
Have you had anyone that's taken too much of this? And if so, what happened to them?
No, with the probiotic, I've never heard of anybody taking too much. I'll admit that there have been times when I've been traveling and working crazy hours. I've taken, up to 5. The normal doses is just 1 a day, but I've taken up to 5 at times when I felt like my immune system needed a little boost. So I've done that, but no, I have not heard of any. I wouldn't suggest, there's no reason to take a whole bunch. It would not be cost effective. 1 at the most, 2 if you're feeling maybe a little run down, but it's really the easiest thing to do. You take 1 capsule at the end of your meal a day, and it's really one of the easiest things to do to really support your gut health. Of course, there's other things that we could do to support our gut health. I mean, there's intermittent fasting has been shown in some studies to really help the gut healing and the gut diversity also, especially with gut diversity. Eating a diverse group of foods is really beneficial. Stress management is another one, meditation and things like that to just, there's a lot of communication between your gut and your brain. So there's lots of things we could do to be supporting our gut health besides taking a spore-based probiotic. But the spore-based probiotic is just great because, like I said, this antibacterial world that we live in and all the offenders of gut health that are out there, it's just kind of like an insurance policy for our gut health.
So it takes, I don't know, how long to really start seeing beneficial effects in customers' experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. Like I said, it's different depending on the situation. We see sometimes with diarrhea within a couple days, even with some skin issues, we've seen within a couple days. Some people, it'll take, 30 days. Most people, it's within the first month. There are a couple of outliers that may take up to 3 months, but most people, they see some results within the first month.
Oh yeah, that's excellent. So what's next? Is it, there's just a long road ahead to get this out into the public, or are there other formulations that are coming?
Yeah, well, what we're really trying to focus on is this. We have this Gut Restore Kit, which is our probiotic, our prebiotic, and our Gut Fortify. And so our probiotic is to recondition the gut. Our prebiotic is to reinforce what we're doing with the probiotic. And our Gut Fortify is to rebuild the mucosal layer. So we are hoping to really start launching that to people to we have a whole system here to really take care of our gut health. And again, if there's any system you're going to be taking care of in your gut, it's your gut, or in your body, it's your gut, because we know the gut is responsible for everything, from endocrine system to our metabolic system. All of these, important systems and all the organs in our body are all dictated by the health of our gut microbiome. So we're really trying to get that out to the people. But we have a really, really exciting strain that we are going to be launching that is specifically targeted to our mood and cortisol levels and things like that. That should be coming out the first quarter of next year. So really, really excited about that. We have some incredible studies on it, and that'll be exciting. So you guys got a sneak peek at that, because that's we haven't put that out there yet to our audience.
Okay. Well, very good. So where can people go? Do they go to, what's the website? And, we'll give the code again and all that. I just want to let people know where can they go to get the product?
Yeah. So the website is justthrivehealth.com. And like you had mentioned, the coupon code for 15% off, it would be 15% off site-wide, is Genius15. And then, if anyone has questions, our customer success team is amazing. They love talking to people. We actually have a product coach on staff, and she could help people with any questions that they may have about the products. I know could sometimes be overwhelming for people, but it is really a simple little step that could make such a tremendous impact on your overall health.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And that's very generous of you for the Genius 15 code. So, Tina, thank you very much for coming and for making this product. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for having me. Excited that I was able to join.
If you like this podcast, please click the link in the description to subscribe and review us on iTunes.
You've been listening to the Finding Genius podcast with Richard Jacobs. If you like what you hear, be sure to review and subscribe to the Finding Genius podcast on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And want to be smarter than everybody else? Become a premium member at findinggeniuspodcast.com. This podcast is for information only. No advice of any kind is being given. Any action you take or don't take as a result of listening is your sole responsibility. Consult professionals when advice is needed.